So what is a buyer's agent and what do we do here at First Brick? So a buyer's agent is a person who represents buyers in the real estate market. So opposite to a real estate sales agent. So sales agents are very common in Australia and we all know what they do. They sell real estate. Their job is to help the vendor, the person that wants to sell the property, sell the property. Whereas a buyer's agent, what we do is we actually represent people who want to purchase properties. Now at First Brick, we actually only work with investors. We don't work with owner occupiers. So we only work with people who want to purchase investment properties. And everything we do at First Brick is based off data. And it's a very data driven approach. And I'll explain the process right now on how it all works. So first things first, we have to get to know the person we're buying the property for. We got to understand their budget, their goals, their strategy, their short and long-term goals, their risk tolerance levels. And we really need to know all of this so that we can take the next step and find the most appropriate and the perfect property for that person. So it starts with communication, a consultation, a free consultation, which is where we explain and where we find out exactly what that person wants to achieve. First question we always ask is, why do you want to buy property? We need to know why you want to invest in real estate. We need to know why this is the vehicle you've chosen to use as an investment vehicle so that we know what your short-term, your long-term goals are and then how we can get there. We reverse engineer the entire process. We don't just start buying them and try and fit this into what you want to achieve. We find out what you want to achieve, what's the long-term goal, what's the short-term goals, and then how do we get there? So how do we go from Z to A to Z or Z to A? Because we're actually reverse engineering. So we need to figure out exactly why you want to invest in property. And then we discuss your budget. Without a budget, nothing really matters. If we don't know how much we can spend or how much we can borrow, then it's impossible to actually have a educated conversation around investment properties. So we need to know what you can borrow, what your goals are. Then we need to know what your risk tolerance levels are. Everyone is different. Some people are very risk averse. Some people are very open to risk. Based off your risk tolerance levels will depend sometimes on where we're going to end up buying. All of these things combined, we need to know because what we do is a very personalized approach to investing in real estate. No two people are the same. There are so many people out there that offer this magic blueprint or this magic formula and you follow it for everyone and that's the answer. And unfortunately, that's not a fair way to do this process because everyone is different. We could have two people, both with $500,000 budgets. One person wants to buy 3 or 4 or 5 properties and build a portfolio, and that's their goal. And one person just wants to buy one and then use that equity to buy their dream home. That one difference, and they might have the same risk tolerance, same everything else. That one difference in terms of the goals is going to change the entire data analysis and probably put us in 2 different parts of the country. So everything we do is personalized. So that's step 1. We got to really understand what you want to achieve and what you're trying to achieve and why. Next step, once you've taken all this information, we perform, and I do it personally, a nationwide data analysis. And what we do here is we look at the entire country and we're looking at every single suburb in Australia, looking at hundreds of data points per suburb to work out what is the best location, where are the best areas for your personal situation, your personal goals, your personal risk tolerance, your personal budget. Everything is personalized to you. So where is the best 10 or 20 suburbs to buy for you? Okay, so we really need to know exactly where we're going for your personal situation. That's why we start with that initial questionnaire. So during this data analysis, we're looking at hundreds of data points at a macro and micro level. We're looking and we're filtering through the entire country, and we come back and we eventually find the 10 or 20 or 30 target suburbs that we are going to buy in. And this data analysis, this process takes me about 7 to 10 days. It's a manual process that I do. We run through all the data and all the information manually. We're literally doing the math as we go. And it has to be done like this. We don't use a software and we just put in some information and it spits out some suburbs. It's actually a manual process. And the reason we do it like this is because we get to interpret the data ourselves, and we're not relying on anyone else or a software or a program to analyze the data. It's done manually and to find the best locations. The reason this is the first part of the process is because of a little saying that you may or may not have heard, and that is location, location, location. Location is easily the most important part when it comes to investing in real estate. Nothing else comes close to it. If you get the right location, everything else will fall into place. If you get the wrong location, everything will not fall into place. I actually attribute 85% of a property's value to its location. 10% land, 5% the property itself. Actually, often I get people call me and say to me, KM, I want to buy a property and it needs to be 600 square meters or 500 square meters or 700 square. They give me a number in terms of land. And I say, great, cool. But that doesn't really matter. It's actually, what you're telling me actually makes no sense, because 600, 700, 500 square meters in context, without context, doesn't mean anything. We need that context, and the context is the location. For example, I gave a seminar not long ago to a crowd of people, and I asked a simple question: would you rather 1,000 square meters or 300 square meters of land? And everyone put their hand up for 1,000. I said, excellent. Now let's add some context, and that context being location. Would you rather 1,000 square meters in the middle of Australia, Alice Springs, or 300 square meters in Sydney CBD? Every single person put their hand up for the 300 square meters, because the value of that land is much higher than the value of the land in the middle of the country. So the land is in context. It's only relevant to its location. Even the property itself at the end, it's got to be in good condition, livable condition, but it's the smallest portion in terms of the value. The valuation really comes from the location. So we spend 7 to 10 days. Really, all we do is look at numbers. You don't hear from us. All we do is look at numbers, finding the top locations. We don't compromise on location. If we get the location right, everything else falls into place. You could buy a lemon in the right location and make money, or you can buy a mansion in the wrong location and not just not make money, but you can also lose money. So step one after the initial consultation is the data analysis. Once we've finished the data analysis, we send you an email with the results from this data analysis. Now, we're not going to send you 200, 300 data points per suburb. We're going to send you a couple of things. We're going to send you, here are the suburbs we're trying to purchase in. This is the typical value of that suburb. Here is the expected yield. And then here is a forecasted growth rate over the next 3 years. Now, a quick caveat on the forecast. I cannot tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone in 3 years' time. I cannot predict the future. However, what we are doing is we're forecasting based off thousands of data points that we put into an algorithm that we've created and that we've got access to. And we are finding out what we expect those locations to look like over the next 3 years based off past, present, and other metrics such as, future infrastructure for the future, population movement, things like that. And our forecasts are extremely accurate, assuming a normal world, assuming we don't have another COVID, assuming the world doesn't shut down again, assuming there are no wars, or all these external factors will obviously impact a forecast. The forecast is not gospel. It is not there to be 100%. It is there to give you an idea of why we like these areas. Instead of me sending you 200 data points per suburb, it's more easy for everyone, for me to write it and for you to read it, to see, hey, these are the suburbs we want to purchase in, and this is what we expect it to do over the next few years. It makes it really easy for you to understand why we want to buy in those areas. So once we've sent you those locations and that data and that information, we have a quick conversation. If everything's all good, makes sense, we move on to the next step. If you have any questions, we go through it together. Next step is property sourcing. This is where we actually start looking at properties. If you've noticed, so far we haven't even spoken about the property because it's the last step. Now we start listing all the properties for sale in the locations we buy in. So we have our 10 or 20 target suburbs. We will find everything for sale in those areas. Everything on market, everything pre-market, everything off market. We speak to all the agents. We know everything that's going to be sold. If there's a property going to be sold in one of our target locations, we will know about it. We're going to have them all listed down. Then we do two things. We analyze the properties from two perspectives. The first perspective, is the property in good and livable condition as a minimum? If yes, excellent. If no, not interested. And it doesn't have to be beautiful, and it doesn't have to be something you'd want to necessarily live in yourself. It's just got to be in a good and livable condition, in line with the suburb standard. If everyone's living in a mansion in that suburb, then we got to be looking at mansions. If everyone's living in a shed, well, as long as it's a shed, pretty much it's good enough, right? It's still got to be good condition, livable, because someone else is going to live in there. And we have a responsibility as investors to provide housing for people who can't afford housing themselves. So that's that. The second part, which is arguably much more important when it comes to what we're doing, is valuations. We do a manual valuation on every single property we find, and then we cross-reference that with vendor's expectations. For example, property one worth 500 grand, vendor wants 550, not interested. Next, property two worth 500, vendor wants 450 to 480. Okay, that's something we're interested in. There is potentially $50,000 to $10,000 under market value for us to purchase this property. So what we do is we list all the properties, on market, pre-market, off market. We value each single one of those properties. We make sure they're in good and livable condition, and then we shortlist and we present anything that is under market value and in good and livable condition. If it's not under market value, or we can't get a potential under market value deal, we do not present it. We only buy under market value. 100% of the time we purchase the property under its valuation, which means on purchase, you've already made money. Literally on the purchase. We 100% do this every single time. No questions asked. Now, we may have, for example, 10 suburbs. Say there's 10 properties per suburb, that's 100 properties. From those 100 properties, we will present to you, like I said, anything that's under market value and in good and livable condition. Now, don't expect there to be 10 or 20 properties under value. In a week, we might get one or two. Maybe three is really the most I get in a week. Often zero. And the reason is that because when we do the initial data set, we're looking for areas where there is nothing for sale and lots of people want to buy. Supply and demand heavily in favor of the seller. We do not buy in buyer's markets. Okay, big mistake. People think buying in buyer's markets is amazing. Incredibly incorrect. And one of the things I hear all the time, naturally doing what I do, is people call me and say, KM, you never hear, or I hear this on the at a weekend barbecue, KM, you'll never guess what I just did. I bought a property and I bought it $50,000 less than the person that I bought it off bought it for. And then I'll ask one question. I say, well, is everyone in the street or everyone in the suburb doing that? Yeah, the agents told me everyone's selling cheap. Now's the time to get in. Massive red flag. We do not want to be buying in an area going backwards. We want to be buying in areas where there is nothing for sale and everyone wants to buy there. We want to be buying in areas where people want to live, the emotional part. 70% of the market is dominated by owner-occupiers. We want to be in those areas. We want to be in extreme sellers markets. And being in extreme sellers markets, it makes my life as your buyer's agent extremely difficult to find under market value properties. But what it does mean is that when we are in those locations, we know that now we control the lack of stock, the lack of supply, and that we are going to get exponentially, extremely good growth rates along with the cash flows and everything else that we're interested in. So that's that. So don't expect 6, 7, 10 properties for in your inbox every week. It might be just one. It might be two. It might be zero. And we have to know as well, we're sending you 1 or 2 properties. We've said no to 98 properties. So we'll only send you the ones that make sense. If they don't make sense, we won't send you anything. But we only send you the ones that are under market value. And we say no to a lot of properties. Which means whatever we send you, something worth buying. We do not send you something we don't think you should buy. If we think you should buy it, we send it. If we send it, it means you should buy it. So we'll send something to you, we'll have a conversation, and the quicker we can discuss it, the better. Because free tip, speed is king in negotiation. The quicker we can put pen to paper, make an offer, get something done for our client, for the agent, the more likely they are to help us get a deal, and a good deal. So we'll send you the options. We'll have a discussion. If you have questions, we'll answer it. We'll discuss it. If you're happy, then next step, we negotiate on your behalf. Okay. And often, sometimes these deals get done within an hour, 2 hours, maybe a day. In some cases, it takes a little bit longer depending on the scenario. But the quicker we can move, the more likely we are to get a deal, and a good deal as well. So now we're negotiating for you on your behalf. We will have obviously discussed beforehand, our top end. This is the price we don't want to go above. This is the number that we're happy with. We will discuss and go through it, and then we'll negotiate for you. If the property goes to auction, we do the auction for you. We do the bidding. Now, if we are successful, we then organize the due diligence. So we organize building and pest inspection. We organize solicitors, conveyances. We organize aesthetic inspection. We've got a team on the floor in every state in this country. They do aesthetic inspections. We'll get videos for you, photos, whatever it is that you want, you get it. You don't have to fly anywhere. You are comfortable in your home. We take care of everything. If we don't get a deal, for whatever reason, the price went above, we were bidding with other people, the price got above the point that we were happy with, and we saw no value, we walk away. And then we restart the property sourcing process again. And we just keep going till we finally get you a deal. Now, if we do get that deal and we've done the due diligence, we also then organize a property manager. So we will interview property managers in the area for you. And then whoever we think is the best for your fit, makes the right fit, we will pass that on to you, and then that person will take care of your property moving forward. Now, after our deal is done and after settlement, we're there for you. Our aftercare service is essentially forever. You have questions, you got problems, you need some help, give us a call, ask us. We are not just your buyer's agent, we become your property partner forever. So every single client that we've ever worked with, we become friends with. We only have 5-star reviews on Google. Literally every single person we work with them as if they were our family, and we take care of them as if they were our family. And that's how we work. So from A to Z, we take care of the entire process. The only thing you need to do is actually just reply to emails and be aware that emails may be coming in, and reply in a timely manner. That's really your requirement, is to reply in a timely manner and trust the data and trust the process. Now, over the last 5-6 years that we've been doing this, our returns have consistently been 2 to 3 times the Australian average return of investment. And 100% of the time, we buy under market value, and our fee is made up immediately on the purchase. So we are always getting the price lower than our fee is initially. That's a guarantee. And if we don't, then we won't charge you. We'll give you your money back, essentially. So that's the process A to Z on what we do, what a buyer's agent is, and what we do specifically at First Brick. It's all data-driven, personalized. We don't have a magic formula. We don't have a software that we just throw in numbers. It's personalized to you. We buy across all of Australia because the entire country is an opportunity. And if we only stuck to one area, we would be pigeonholing you into a solution that might not be for you. Everything is personalized for you, data-driven, based off numbers, no opinions. You sit back, you relax, you enjoy your weekends. You don't have to worry. Just got to reply to emails in a timely manner, and everything is taken care of for you. And then we build you your plan so you become financially free, or you meet your goals, whatever they are. That's the process. Thank you for listening.